Ops, Roman goddess of abundance. Welcome back. I'm Adeline Atlas, 11 times published author, and this is the Gods of Money series. Among the Romans, wealth was not only about gold and silver or the spoils of conquest. At its heart, wealth meant fertile fields, healthy harvests, and the security of having enough food to sustain families, armies, and cities. Before the marble temples of Rome gleamed with plundered treasure, prosperity was measured in grain stores and vineyards. At the center of this vision stood Ops, the goddess of abundance, agricultural wealth, and the bounty of the earth itself. While Fortuna spun her wheel and Pluto ruled the riches underground, Ops was the steady hand of plenty, the matron who symbolized stability, nourishment, and the grounded prosperity of cultivated land. Ops was often imagined as the counterpart of Saturn, the old god of time and sowing. In Roman tradition, she was sometimes described as his consort, embodying the richness that followed his work of planting. Saturn scattered seeds, Ops made them flourish. Where Saturn carried the scythe of harvest and the melancholy of cycles, Ops embodied the fullness of plenty. Her very name is thought to derive from the Latin ops, meaning wealth or resources. In language and in myth, Ops was prosperity made visible. The Romans honored her not as a distant cosmic force, but as a presence rooted in the soil. She was depicted as a matronly figure, seated, often holding a sheaf of wheat or a cornucopia. These symbols declared her identity clearly. She was the giver of nourishment, the one who filled granaries and sustained cities. Her seated pose suggested stability, unlike Fortuna, who balanced on a wheel or a ball. Ops was not changeable chance. She was steady plenty, the wealth of the earth granted through labor and the favor of the gods. Festivals dedicated to Ops revealed how the Romans linked her directly to the rhythms of agriculture. The most important was the Opiconsivia, held on August 25th. This festival marked the storage of the harvest, when grain was placed into granaries for safekeeping. The rites were conducted by the Vestal Virgins and the Flamen Quirinalis, the high priest of Quirinus, showing how central Ops was to Rome's survival. During the Opiconsivia, the people gave thanks to her for the abundance of the season and prayed for the continued fertility of their land. Another festival, the Opalia, was held on December 19th, during Saturnalia. Here Ops was honored as the goddess of agricultural plenty in the depths of winter, a reminder that even in scarcity, the promise of abundance remained. Together, these festivals marked the agricultural cycle. Ops presided over both the fullness of summer's harvest and the hope carried through winter. In both, she was the guarantor of continuity, the goddess who ensured that Rome's fields and stores would provide. Ops also had a strong connection to the concept of help, or aid, since the Latin word ops could mean assistance as well as resources. This dual meaning hints at her character. She was the goddess who came to the aid of the people by ensuring the land's abundance. To invoke Ops was to ask for help not in battle or politics, but in the most fundamental need, the nourishment of the community. Her sanctuaries and rites carried a particular character. Ops was said to be worshipped in a seated position, and worshippers would approach her kneeling, touching the ground in reverence. This posture reinforced her identity as the goddess of the earth's bounty. To kneel and touch the ground was to acknowledge that all wealth, all sustenance, all prosperity, ultimately came from the soil. By honoring Ops, Romans humbled themselves before the earth that fed them. Ops's significance also lay in her role within the Roman family of gods. While Jupiter ruled the sky, Mars the battlefield, and Neptune the sea, Ops grounded Rome in its agrarian foundation. She was not a goddess of unpredictable fortune like Fortuna, nor of grim subterranean wealth like Pluto. She was domestic, maternal, stable. Her cult resonated with the values of farming communities that had built Rome before it became an empire of marble. Even as Rome expanded into conquest and trade, the rituals of Ops reminded the people that empire rested on grain. Armies marched because Ops filled their bellies. Cities thrived because Ops blessed the fields. This truth was especially clear in Rome's reliance on the grain supply. From the conquest of Sicily to the annexation of Egypt, Rome's expansion was driven by the need to secure grain for its swelling population. Bread became not just food, but politics. Emperors ensured loyalty by distributing grain to the masses in what became known as the Annona. Behind these policies stood the ancient figure of Ops, goddess of plenty. Even if her name was not invoked directly in the political arena, her symbolism lingered. Every sheaf of wheat carved into monuments, every cornucopia stamped on coins, carried echoes of Ops. Coins, in fact, became one of the main vehicles of her imagery. Roman coinage often showed female figures representing abundance, seated and holding ears of wheat or a cornucopia. While sometimes labeled as abundantia or ceres, these images drew from the same symbolic reservoir as Ops. They reminded every Roman handling money that true wealth was not the metal of the coin itself, but the grain and resources it could secure. Ops, through her imagery, connected the symbolic wealth of money to the tangible wealth of food. Roman writers occasionally reference her as well. Varro, the scholar of Roman religion, identified her with the earth's bounty. Ovid, in his Fasti, the poetic calendar of Roman festivals, mentions her as part of the cycle of agricultural deities. Though less prominent in myth than gods like Jupiter or Venus, Ops held a quiet but essential role. The goddess whose festivals and symbols sustained the daily life of the people. The distinction between Ops and Ceres is also instructive. Ceres, borrowed from the Greek Demeter, embodied the cycles of agriculture, the mysteries of fertility, and the grief and joy of harvest through the myth of Persephone. Ops, by contrast, was more practical, more Roman. She was less mythic narrative and more agricultural function. Ceres told a story of loss and return. Ops simply gave abundance, stabilized harvests, and received gratitude in ritual. This practical orientation reflected the Roman character. Religion was less about elaborate myth and more about ensuring divine favor for concrete needs. Ops was the perfect goddess for a people who built an empire on the grain supply. Her festivals and rites also reveal how wealth was understood communally. Ops was not invoked for individual fortune or personal success. She was honored for the prosperity of the whole, the city, the fields, the families. Her blessings were collective, not private. This contrasts sharply with later ideas of fortune, where wealth is individualized. Ops represented a more ancient model. Wealth as the abundance of shared resources, secured through agriculture and distributed through community. Even after Christianity rose in the Roman world, Ops's imagery lingered. The cornucopia survived as a symbol of abundance, appearing in Christian art as a representation of divine providence. Agricultural festivals were reinterpreted but continued. The connection between wealth and the earth's plenty remained central in European thought. Ops, though less remembered by name, left her imprint in symbols that still represent prosperity today. The legacy of Ops is quiet but foundational. She is not as famous as Fortuna, not as feared as Pluto, not as mischievous as Mercury. Yet without her, the Roman vision of wealth collapses. She embodies the basic truth that all prosperity begins with the earth. Gold and silver may glitter, but without grain, no city endures. Trade and conquest may enrich, but without harvest, armies starve. Ops was the reminder that beneath every empire's grandeur lies the soil, and in that soil lies the true root of wealth. The Romans, practical as always, honored her with rituals tied directly to agricultural life. They touched the earth in reverence. They marked the turning of the seasons with her festivals. They carved her symbols into their coins. They gave her a place beside Saturn, acknowledging that planting and plenty are two halves of one cycle. In Ops, they found a goddess who was not dramatic or capricious, but dependable, maternal, and essential. Through Ops, we glimpse a Roman worldview where wealth is measured not only in conquest or coin, but in the harvest that sustains life. She is the steady goddess of abundance, the matron of granaries, the quiet guarantor of prosperity. If Fortuna was the wheel that spun unpredictably, Ops was the ground beneath it, solid, fertile, and sustaining. She may not have dazzled with mythic drama, but in her constancy she represented the most enduring truth of wealth, that it begins with the earth and the abundance it yields. Welcome back. I'm Adeline Atlas, 11 times published author, and this is the Manifestation series, where we don't just talk about manifesting, we master it. Because let's be honest, manifestation has been watered down, reduced to vague quotes, mood boards, and empty promises. But you didn't come here to wish. You came here to build a reality that hits different. A reality that responds to your frequency, your language, your alignment, and your decision to stop playing small. This series is not fluff. It's physics, frequency, and fierce creative power. Inside the Manifestation series, you're going to learn how to collapse timelines, shift identities, and speak worlds into existence, just like the greatest minds in history. This isn't just about being positive. This is about being powerful. Here's what you unlock inside. Vision to Reality, the Vision Board course. You've heard about vision boards, but you've never done them like this. This is a full energetic ritual, a precision-coded map for your subconscious, designed to bridge image, frequency, and strategy. It's not arts and crafts. It's blueprinting your future in visual form and turning it into matter. Time, quantum timelines, and why time isn't real. Manifestation doesn't take time. It takes alignment. In this module, I'll show you how time is just a mirror of energy and how to collapse timelines using choice, clarity, and vibration. Past, present, future, they're happening now. And when you know how to navigate time quantum style, you stop waiting and start receiving. Quantum jumping, instantly up level. Your next level life isn't years away. It's one decision away. In this training, you'll learn how to quantum jump, how to shift into a version of you that already has what you desire. This isn't fantasy. It's how high-performance creators, athletes, and spiritual masters leap beyond limits. Jump now. Land in power. Every word. The power of affirmations and spoken language. Words build worlds. In this course, I show you how to use affirmations like spell work, not just repeating empty mantras, but speaking with vibration, intention, and spiritual force. If you've ever felt like affirmations don't work, this will change everything. You'll learn to command your field, not just request from it. The greats, learning from the most exceptional minds in history. We're not the first to master this. In this legendary module, we decode the techniques, habits, and quantum genius of the world's most powerful manifestors, from ancient sages to modern icons. You'll learn how to think like the greats, move like the greats, and manifest like the greats. This isn't another feel-good series. This is a spiritual weapon, disguised as a manifestation course. It's made for leaders, cycle breakers, visionaries, and soul builders. You don't need another wish list. You need a system that teaches you how to bend reality. This is that system. So if you're ready to stop playing with potential and start creating results, welcome to your next level. The manifestation series is open now. You know what to do. Let's build what they said was impossible and make it inevitable.